In this video, I want to show you one of the best exercises ever to improve your abilities as a musician. In my book about improvisation, I have a whole chapter about rhythm. And even though we can argue if rhythm or knowing a lot of music theory and ear training or phrasing or dynamics are the most important things in music, I think we can all agree that rhythm is most likely one of the things that all music all over the world sees as a major part. And I think I have never heard a good musician that didn't have a good rhythm or timing as well. And that does not necessarily mean that these people play like super precise as a metronome. Some of the very precise players are, in my opinion, even too mechanical and lack personal influences in their timing. So a good timing and a good rhythm feeling, a good groove is, in my opinion, the combination of a very precise but also personal timing influences. So the exercise I'm about to show you is exactly about that. If you use a metronome for improving your timing, like a lot of people do, then this is a very good idea in general. But in my opinion, after some time of using it the, let's say, normal way, the metronome doesn't help you any further, and that is where a lot of people don't develop a better timing in general, and also a timing that is reliable and musical. So to show you what I mean, I think the normal way that most people use a metronome would probably be like this. Let's say for the matter of this exercise and for explaining reasons, we are in a 4/4 time. And so most people would probably go like this. They start the metronome and they would do exercises and try to hit the beat as good as possible. For example, you play a scale or a finger exercise and you go like 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and you try to be exactly in time with the beat. So like I said, there is nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good way to start and to get a good feeling of how far apart are the beats and can I keep up with something and will I get slower or faster. So all these things will get better if you use a metronome like that. But there is a few maybe problems. The first thing is you would not get a response. And what I mean is, even if you start the metronome and keep playing to it, you cannot say if you're right on. You cannot say if you're like slightly next to the beat, and most people don't even care. I mean, they do care, otherwise they wouldn't use a metronome. But most people don't go like, oh, let's record myself while I play to the metronome and afterwards check if I did a good job. That is not what most people do. Most people would play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and do that 4 or 5 minutes, turn the metronome off and go like, well, now I improved my timing. To some part that might be right. I mean, a lot of people have a quite good feeling of general rhythm and timing, and if they work with a metronome, they improve their timing. But, like I said, I think this is a huge problem. You get no response. The other problem is the metronome always is right. And as long as you keep playing with the metronome, you might think that your timing is quite well because you're always very close to the beat. But that is only partly right, because now if I switch off the metronome and tell, for example, my students to keep on playing, then it shows very clear that they pretty fast change the tempo or the time feeling or the timing as well, or the subdivisions, and they are not as tight anymore compared to playing with the metronome. Well, you could say that is only natural, but I think that is not what improving your timing should be about. Because let's say you're not a musician that only plays at home, or you're not a musician that only plays with perfectly programmed backing tracks. Let's say you're a person that plays with other people. And then everything changes, because I would say that like 99% of all people who play together with other people are not having in-ear monitoring with a click. So let's say you're going to a rehearsal and you go to a jam session, or you go on stage and want to play what you practiced with your band. Most of the people do not have in-ear monitoring with a click. So at that point, it means all of the musicians of that band, combo, ensemble, orchestra are a part of the timing. And that is what I mean with practicing with a metronome, like I showed before, is wrong. It is not entirely wrong, but I think it doesn't make you better in what I call active timing. If you use the metronome like I showed it before, then I think it's quite okay for improving your passive timing, but that means you're always a little late and you need somebody to keep the time for you. And that would probably be the drummer. But if the drummer is not good with timing, or somebody else in the band, then you have a huge problem. And you also have a problem if the drummer is good with the timing, because you will always wait for the drummer to give the timing and then try to play as fast as possible where the drummer plays. But that is not what I think makes a good groove of the whole band. So now let me show you what I think, or at least what I suggest you do in my book, and how you can improve your timing by a lot. And trust me on this, I've done that with a lot of people, and I've done that myself over the years a lot. And I think this is one of the best exercises for your musicality in general and your timing abilities as a musician. And it doesn't matter which instrument you play. What I want is this. Let's go back to the metronome for a second, and I show you again what the metronome does. Right now I have a 4/4 time, and we can hear that by that accent that is shown on the first downbeat. The first downbeat gets an additional accent, and therefore we know this is 1 and we start counting like 1, 2, 3, 4. So now if I take the accent away, the metronome just goes on like forever. Right now we have a display and I can still see the beat, but if I don't show the beat and just start somewhere, we wouldn't know after some time what beat it actually is. And I think that is a very important thing to understand, because what I wanna show you, or what I want you to do in this exercise is, I want to show you that the metronome is not what the metronome thinks, it is what we think, or what we hear, or what we want the metronome to be. For example, these beats could be a great variety of sounds. Right now, and the way most people train it, we will probably think, well, this is 4/4 time. Especially since I played it before and we still have it in our ears. So we would go like, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But it hasn't to be that way. I can also say this is something completely different. So right now we're hearing the metronome in this way. We would say it's probably a 4/4 time and we hear a downbeat. But the metronome is only making sounds and we are now suggesting it is 4/4 time and a downbeat. But it is not necessarily. It could also be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that would be a very simple explanation, and I think all of you know that. I can switch the metronome from 3 to 4 to 5 or whatever time. But that was still an example that's pretty close to this one. Now, what I want to show you is we can hear the metronome in a variety of sounds, and some of these sounds would be more exotic and therefore challenging, and that is what I call, or that will improve what I call active timing. So active timing, for example, let's make something easy that maybe several of you already know. One example could be this click might be the same as I showed before. So it might be 1, 2, 3, 4. But as I said before, we can make the click sound as we like to. And one of the easiest solutions would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3. So what I did is this example that is shown in this bar. I counted twice as fast, so the clicks that we heard before in 4/4 time are now on 1, then there is no click on 2 and 3, and then there is no click on 4. Well, that's not a very complicated way, but I think a good start. And if we think that a little further, then we get to the first very good exercise. And that is the next bar. What I want to do is turn that example here around and count in a way so that we hear a pause on 1, a click on 2, a pause on 3, and a click on 4. You might all know this as a so-called backbeat. A backbeat is something we can hear in most of all modern music and is a very important part of our way of feeling rhythm, at least in the Western world. So now we have the first step to an active timing, and that contains that we start counting so that the click falls on 2 and 4. For that, I have to start active, and I mean I cannot rely entirely on the metronome. That is what I want. I want the metronome, which is still very precise, to work together with me. And I will be forced to take an active action so that the metronome is not dictating me what I have to do. Rather, I can tell the metronome what it is supposed to sound like. And that would go, in this example, it would go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, if you do this, then you will get a very different approach in working with a metronome, and it will force you to be active in your timing. Now you cannot rely so much anymore on the click. You will have to be an active part of this exercise, and that is a whole different level of working on your timing. Let me show you one more example of what a 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 click can do. So another example would be this. Luckily, I have a metronome which can show me various variations of the click, and therefore I can easily show you what I mean. That would be, again, right now, a 4/4 click with downbeats. I can activate accents here, and I now have activated the and as well. And that sounds like this. So now we can hear 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And if I take away the downbeats, we are left with the upbeats. So that would be the next exercise that I want you to practice. I would shift all the 4 beats of a metronome 1/8 note, and that means the first downbeat is a rest, the upbeat is a sound, the second downbeat is a rest, upbeat is a sound, and so on. All downbeats are rests and all upbeats are accented. That was only for the purpose of showing you don't need such a metronome. The whole reason for this exercise is that you can do it with any metronome and any sound that is like so. your role would be to shift this normal downbeat to an upbeat sound. And then, for example, if you are just starting with this exercise, you count, and then if you get the feeling for this whole upbeat thing, you should start playing. At first, play something simple, maybe chords in an 8 or quarter note feeling, so that you can adjust to this new time feel. And later on you can play like whole songs or exercises with this metronome that will sound on the upbeat like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 4 and. Okay? That gives you like something like a reggae feel, right? And so on and so on. I have suggested in my book several versions of these things, and one of the things that I like to do is to change the click over time. I mean, there is several pretty complicated versions that you can do with an easy click. What I mean is an easy click like this, that is constantly clicking in a very short amount of time. For the book, I programmed several beats that change and have huge pauses. And that again will make you improve your active timing, because as long as we have a constant click in a short amount of time, it is way easier to adjust, right? The higher the tempo, the easier it is to exactly hit the beat. If we go very slow, it is pretty complicated to exactly hit the beat every time. And that gets even more complicated with huge pauses. So what I suggest is, for example, playing only one beat for 2 bars, or even one beat every 4 bars. And then play with this click and try to hit the one exactly right. That will make you work on your active timing. But you could also, for some time, train even more with a click that is within a short amount of time and still get some pretty challenging versions. So what I also suggest here would be hearing the click as part of a triplet group. So if you have 1 and E, 2 and E, then you could, for example, hear the click on the last beat of a triplet. So this could sound something like this. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and... One, two, three, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're working on your triplet feeling, this might be an exercise that will help you tremendously improve your timing and also your active rhythm feeling. I hope you could understand what I was trying to explain here. I hope you find this exercise as helpful as I did. Let me know in the comments if you like it or if it helped you improve your timing at all.